Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video about all the books that are super hyped that I didn't enjoy. I just filmed half of this and realized I never plugged my mic in, and I don't like how my camera sounds without my mic. So I'm here restarting. At least I figured it out halfway through and not at the very end. But I am here to talk about books that I wasn't a fan of that are really, really hyped on BookTube and Book Talk and Instagram, Bookstagram. And I will say, these are just my own opinions. If you loved them, that's great. I know people really hate books that I love, and so I won't necessarily say I hated these books, but I was really disappointed in them, and it could have been because of the writing style, the pacing, the plot, the characters. Something about it wasn't my favorite, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to the books. The first one I know a lot of you know my feelings about, and that's Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This one I was so disappointed in because I thought I would love it. Everybody was talking about it and they're like, it's a touch her and I kill you vibe hero. He's broody. He's like secretly might be like in the mafia or something. Like he's a billionaire, millionaire kind of guy. He's watching over her because he's her brother's best friend. In Grump Sunshine, there's so many tropes in here I thought I would love, but the problem with it was too tropey. The author threw in so much and I don't think any of it really meshed together. It felt like too much was going on. Nothing was cohesive. The pacing was really odd, and that's because she skipped over a lot of important relationship building and like emotional buildup of their relationship, where I knew they were physically attracted to each other and then all of a sudden they were in love, and I was like, but where did that tenderness come from? I didn't see it. I was like, we went from 0 to like 100 in their emotional romance, and I didn't get to see the in-between, and I felt like I didn't really believe their relationship. We also had a villain like really thrown in at the end that was mustache twirling, like very cliche, and it didn't feel like natural, and then it was like popped in and out so quickly, and I was like, what was the point of having this in here? And it really threw me off. I gave this book 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite, and I'm really sad. I did enjoy book 2 better than book 1. I think the author did a lot better pacing wise and building the relationship, but this one, it honestly should have gotten lower than 3 from me, but I still like enjoyed the romance. But there were also things like the heroine was like, the hero accidentally cut his finger on something and she like yelled at him for cutting himself and not being more careful. And I'm like, he literally just like hit his hand on like a piece of metal that was sticking out. He didn't do it on purpose, and she got really mad at him. And I was like, this is weird. So I didn't love this one, and it makes me really sad. The next one that's probably makes me the most sad is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This one is hyped everywhere, and I was enjoying the beginning. So this is apparently based off of Schitt's Creek. I've never watched that show, so that might be why I didn't have like a connection to our heroine. She is just this super spoiled girl. She parties all the time. She doesn't have a job. She's a social media influencer. She gets in trouble. She like winds up in jail, and I was like, I don't care about this person. She has no concept of money, and then her and her sister have to go fix up this bar where they grew up, and the only reason I loved the beginning of this book was because of Brendan, the hero. I loved him. He was brooding, he's a fisherman, he just has a simple life, he's just like content where he is, and then the heroine comes in the picture and like throws everything for a loop, and he's like, oh my gosh, what's happening, but I kind of really like her, and it was really adorable. But then they got together like 40% in, and I'm like, what are we gonna do for 60% of this book? And it was so boring to me. Like I slogged through the 60%, and then I feel like the conflict at the end was so predictable. I saw it coming a mile away. I saw what was going to happen because of that conflict coming a mile away, and I was like, do I have to read through this when I know what's going to happen? We all know that romances end in a happily ever after, but it's the journey to that HEA is why we enjoy reading romance. I like to be surprised. How are they going to find their way together? What's going to be a conflict for them, and how are they going to overcome that? When I know that already, that makes the book boring. I'm like, I don't need to read through this when I already know what it's gonna be. I don't like it when things are predictable. Someone had said in one of my videos it's meant to be predictable, but I don't like that in my romances, so I didn't love that it was a very predictable story. I've been there, done that. I want something new and exciting, and I feel like maybe It Happens One Summer is new and exciting for people who don't typically like read a ton of romance, though I know a lot of my friends loved it, so I don't know. I just wasn't a fan. I was very bored by it, and I unfortunately didn't love this one. Then we have Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This one is just so hyped. Everybody loves it. It's in Barnes & Noble stores. Everyone loves it so much. It's Hades and Persephone retelling. I had such a big problem with the writing style of this. I could not get into the writing, and so I, again, just slogged through this. I can't even tell you what happened in the plot. I don't even remember, but I didn't like the romance. I didn't like the heroine. I really didn't like anything. I gave it 2 stars, but I know we did it for the Ravished by Romance book club, and Lacey, I think, liked it, and Riley really liked it, but I didn't. And so many people love this series. I didn't even care to read book 2. There was no way I was going to sit through another book by this author. So I don't know why, like what didn't work for me that's been working so much with other people, because people are obsessed with these books. I just didn't care. And looking back, I feel like I've never read a Hades and Persephone retelling I actually liked, because then the next one's Neon Gods by Katie Robert. I have recommended this in a video because of the romance. I love the romance between Persephone and Hades. I loved Hades. I loved how he fell for her and how he would protect her, and he just really liked her. And he was such a like gentle hero, which you wouldn't expect from Hades. And I enjoyed Persephone's character, but everything else in the plot just really fell short for me. There were no high stakes. I feel like it was supposed to be built up into this huge thing where Zeus was after them and she's hiding, she's scared for her sisters, and I didn't feel that intensity in the plot, and I really didn't care. And I feel like it was supposed to be there and it wasn't, and so I was really bored with all the rest of the plot besides the romance. And I love a good romance, but I need a romance book to all together work well, and the plot really fell short for me, which was sad because everybody loves this book. People have been hyping it all over TikTok, and it was just okay to me. The next one is one people keep on recommending to me, and that's You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. I've read this one, and I really did not like it. It's an interesting premise because our hero and our heroine are already engaged in the beginning, and then they fall out of love, but whoever breaks it off has to pay for everything they've already paid for the wedding. So they're really pushing each other's buttons and doing really rude stuff to each other, which I read a mafia romance where they literally try to kill each other, and I like was super entertained and loved it, but that's mafia. Like, this is contemporary. They're supposed to like each other, they're living together, and they do really mean pranks on each other in their own home, and I was like, not being safe in my own house would terrify me. And what they were doing to each other, they were invading each other's space and privacy, and I didn't like it, and I just didn't care. I was like, why are these people even trying to be together? This is so annoying. And so most of the book I really didn't like, because I don't like watching two characters really try to sabotage each other and not get along, and then all of a sudden be in love. And I don't know why it works in some other books and it just didn't in this one, because I've read other books like that where I enjoyed it, but I just was not rooting for these characters, and I didn't think they needed to be together, and so I didn't like it. And so people keep on telling me to read it as like a marriage and trouble romance since they're already like together and engaged, and I was like, no thank you. I've read it. I really didn't like it. Another one I really didn't like was The Master by Cressley Cole, and it's on this list because it has a 4.34 rating on Goodreads, and it was hyped like a long time ago, and I finally got around to reading it. It's a mafia romance, and it was so boring. I think most of it took place in their apartment, and I can't even remember like 80% of the plot. I don't even remember the basic premise of this plot. I think was she a call girl or something, and he was angry that she came because she was like covering for her friend, and then he ended up like really falling in love with her. I was like, okay, and then she's just like pretty much in his apartment for 80% of the book, and I was like, this is so boring. In my mafia romances, I like a lot more action and suspense and stakes, and there was none in this book. So for me, the plot was really boring, and I just didn't care, but people love it. I know a lot of people who gave it 4 or 5 stars. I gave it 2. It just wasn't for me. Another one that I didn't love was The Initiation by Nikki Sloan. This one I feel like is very hit or miss among people, and it just weirded me out. Like, I know it really pushes the boundaries of what's okay or not in a romance, because at the end something happened. I don't want to spoil it, but like that scene at the end was gross to me. Like, it involved old men, and I just kept on imagining old men in this scenario, and I was like, that's not it for me. So this one I didn't like. It was just too weird for me, and it made me a little uncomfortable, and I just was like, okay, I'm done, and I don't need to read anymore. And I know a lot of people that really love it, and I really like the premise of it, but the end just really threw me off. If you've read it, you know, and maybe you liked it. But for me, I just couldn't. I just didn't love it. I'm sorry. Then we have one that I didn't necessarily hate. I think I gave it 4 stars, but the amount of things I said I didn't like about it, I probably should give it 3, and that's People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Don't hate me. I really enjoyed Beach Read, but this one was a little too slow for me. And a big pet peeve I have about romances that are second chance, that like flash between the past and the present, is that when they have a big secret that like blew up, we don't know that until the end, and I really don't like how authors drag that out, and this is what this did. So we know that our hero and heroine, something happened to them in the past in their last vacation together that really ruined their relationship, and now they're back together and going on vacation again, and they're gonna have to confront what had happened to them. We don't know what that was until so like 60-70% into the book. We know something happened at the start, but the author doesn't tell us until a long time in, and when the author does it, I feel like it has to be something really shocking. And it was so anticlimactic, and I was like, that's what drove them apart. Like, really, like, I felt like it was obvious and it wasn't surprising. It was predictable, and again, I don't like predictable books, and I was really disappointed that that was the thing that drove them apart, and we could have definitely been told from the beginning that that's what happened. It was annoying, and I don't love how much we got of their flashbacks. It was like, so much was like, oh, here's them in the past and now we're back in the present. Here's the past and the present. I don't love it when it's dragged out like that. But that's an own personal preference of mine, and so I know a lot of people really love this book, and it was just okay. I felt like it was really slow, and they just refused to talk to each other, and I was like, this is annoying. Just talk to each other. Because that was also a reason why the past ended up happening, because they didn't talk to each other, and it almost happened again, and I was just like, really? So this one missed a lot for me, and I gave it 4 because I still thought the romance was cute, but it's probably more 3.5, more 3 for me. But again, everybody loved this book. But to me, it just did some things that I personally don't love in romance, so that's why I didn't enjoy it. Another one I'm going to talk about is one that I actually enjoyed the first couple in the series, but like the end was completely not for me, and that was the Madison Kate series by Tate James. This one I think I gave books 1 and 2 4 stars. It's reverse harem. She like ends up having to go to jail in the beginning because of the guys, and then it turns out that her dad marries one of their moms, and so they're all living in her dad's house, and then her dad and the mom like go off on a vacation together, so she's stuck living with these 4 guys, and there's like a stalker situation going on, and I thought the first 2 were really entertaining. I really liked the development of the romance. The last 2 I gave 3 stars. I gave 4 2 stars. The final culminating like book was so disappointing. Nothing really happened, but it was like 500 pages long, and we had this stalker that was building for 4 books, and the payoff was so bad. I was like, this is really who it was, and it was over in like 2 seconds, and I was like, what just happened? I feel like I missed so much. It was so disappointing to me, but I know people are like ride or die for this series, and I thought the first 2 were very entertaining and I really liked them, but once the development of the romances were done, I was so bored. Didn't really care for book 3. The heroine was making really stupid decisions. Some things really didn't make sense of how her stalker like kept on getting away with things because of how good at security all of them are. I was like, how is the stalker still doing this? And the ending was just very disappointing. So I didn't love the end of the series. The last one I'm going to say is The Roommate, and this one's Rosie Danan. I know everybody really loves this one. The heroine was someone that I really had a hard time liking. She had like a PhD in something, so she spent all this time going to school, having her parents pay for her education, and then she gets her PhD and then like moves halfway across the country to go live with a guy who she's had a crush on, but he's never reciprocated the feelings, and then he decides to move out to go tour with his band. So she's left in this place with no goals or whatever, no plan, and gets a new roommate who works in the adult film industry, which I thought that was really interesting, but the heroine, I'm like, what the heck are you doing? And then she's trying to figure out what to do, and I just like didn't care. I thought a lot of it was really boring. I thought the romance was okay, but I was really disappointed in this book as a whole. I did enjoy book 2 better, but the way people were raving about this romance, I expected something amazing, and it really just wasn't. So I was definitely disappointed. Like I said, I can't even remember a lot about what happened in the plot because I was just so bored. I think I listened to the audiobook and it just was not for me. So those are all the books I'm going to talk about, the 10 books that I've seen hyped everywhere. I had high expectations for going into them and they just did not meet my expectations. I didn't love them. Let me know if you love these or not, and let me know why you love them. If you really loved one of these books, let me know. I'd love to hear, and if there are other hyped romances that you didn't really like, let me know as well. I'd love to see what you guys have to say in the comments, so let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.